Every time her eyes closed, that recording appeared before her. It was herself, only younger, more vulnerable, before everything happened. And what was in the mirror? Almost her. Almost the face. She sat on the floor of an old hotel, where she'd rented a room under someone else's name. The laptop warmed her knees, and on the screen, a frozen frame. The message on the mirror, I was never alone. I or we, she wondered. She returned to the forum. The thread, created under a new pseudonym, had already received responses. One, in particular, disturbed her. He copies. He's not just playing anymore. He's learning. Be careful. He's in the reflection. He's in who you were. Signed, 31K. It could be Kseniya. Or someone who knew everything about her. Maybe even him. There were photos on the table. Printed faces. Women like her. Before. And after.
Some had disappeared without a trace. Others had died, officially in accidents. She was beginning to understand. He wasn't just disappearing anymore. He was leaving voids. Then she saw a recording from a neighboring camera. Someone stood by her door. Didn't knock. Didn't enter. Just stood there. For a long time. A mask on his face. Ash-like stains on his jacket. She stood up. Cold. Scared. But clear. He hadn't disappeared. He had changed the rules. Chapter 2, 31K. Vera reached the station in 2 hours, taking the back roads, constantly looking over her shoulder. She no longer believed in coincidences. Even her choice of train had been a calculation. On the platform, a teenager with a pulled-down hoodie and an old model phone. He passed by her, nodding slightly. Only on the train did she realize, there was a patch on his backpack, 31K. An hour later, the train stopped at an abandoned station. Only the two of them got off. The wind blew, empty asphalt, rusty lamps. The teenager spoke first. "You're not the only one looking for him." He spoke calmly, with an adult voice. Rehearsed. Maybe he wasn't a teenager after all, but he knew too much. "Who are you?" "I'm the one who survived. And the one who stayed to watch. You think you know who he is. You don't. He is not alone." "What do you mean, not alone?" Silence. Then he opened an old notebook. Inside were copies of faces. Recognizable. Terrifyingly recognizable. One of them was hers. But with a different hairstyle. Different eye color. The caption under the photo, Vera 2, Moscow, 2016. Disappearance confirmed. "This isn't me," she whispered. He nodded. "But he will make you become her. Or he will destroy you. It depends on the game you play." Chapter 3, Vera 2. "You're saying," Vera said slowly, "that he creates copies?" 31K shrugged. "Not literally. He finds similar ones. Forms them. Molds them from the inside. Repeats the experience. The words. The behavior. At some point, you're no longer you. You're the one who was before you. Or the one who will be after." Vera swallowed. The wind lifted dust from the old tracks. In the distance, the train whistled, like the echo of another world, the normal one, where people fall in love and live without fear of mirrors. "Why me?" she asked. "Why are you helping me?" He took an old, worn photograph from his inner pocket. It showed a woman. Her eyes. But the smile was softer. The hair longer. The caption on the back, Kara. 2009. "My sister," he said. "I found her things a year later. Recordings, letters. He was in her life too. And in hundreds of others." He looked her straight in the eyes. "You're close. He's become more cautious, smarter. But you've touched him. He's drawing you again. And he'll try to erase the original." Vera frowns. "Is he coming after me?" "He's coming into you." And then she understood, the message on the mirror wasn't a threat. It was a warning. I was never alone. He lived in images, in copies, in everyone he molded. And now, he lived inside her. Chapter 4, The Archive. They were driving in an old van that 31K called the Mobile Archive. Inside, boxes, hard drives, notebooks filled with codes and fragments of names. The air smelled of dust, rusted metal, and other people's fear. Vera opened one of the folders. Inside were pages of printed dialogues, chats, emails, handwritten notes. Again and again, the same phrases. As if he was rehearsing how to sound convincing. "Does he use templates?" she asked. "No," 31K replied. "He creates them. He records reactions. Studies how to break people. How to pour himself into their pain." She froze, holding a photo. A woman in glasses, her face tired. On the back, Marina. Suicide attempt. 2021. Unsuccessful. Disappeared later. They all vanished? Almost. Or became someone else. So much so, they wouldn't recognize themselves. He doesn't just destroy lives. He steals identity. Slowly. Gently. The van entered an old industrial zone. In the distance, a crooked hangar with a faded sign, "Terminal." On the door, a symbol scratched with a nail. Those who remember. "What is this?" she asked. "A place where the originals are kept," he said. "Voices. Faces. Stories. If we want to win, we have to remember everything." He turned off the engine. "And be ready to face what's left of him." Chapter 5, The Terminal. It was cold inside the hangar, though outside it was late summer. The walls were covered in photographs. Some nearly faded. Others still fresh. Beneath each, name, date. Sometimes a short note, "Forgot who she was," repeated, partially preserved. Vera walked along the wall, her chest tightening. Women. Young. Old. Smiling. Broken. Something about each was familiar. Not the faces, the posture. The gaze. Tiny details he had copied. 31K turned on a projector. A blurry figure lit up on the concrete wall, speaking. He doesn't just copy. He replaces. Erases you and others. You live, but not your own life. If you're hearing this, check your memories. What feels like a detail may be an insertion. Vera stepped back. She recalled a recent dream, waking in her old apartment, but the walls were covered in strangers' photos? At the time, it seemed odd. But now, "You think he could already be inside me?" she asked. "Possibly. But not completely. As long as you doubt, you're real. The moment you believe the fake, he wins." A tablet lay on the floor. Vera turned it on. Footage from a surveillance camera. Kseniya. Alive. And not alone. She sat in a small room. Beside her, a silhouette. Dark. Blurred. He held her hand. Vera leaned closer. Kseniya stared directly into the camera. And whispered. "He became me. Save us while you still remember who you are." Chapter 6, A Voice in the Silence. That night, Vera couldn't sleep. Kseniya was alive, but she looked empty. Almost like when Vera had once found her at her lowest. As if something inside had been washed out and reassembled. And that voice, a whisper, barely audible, yet so real, "Save us while you still remember yourself." She slipped out of the van, careful not to wake 31K. The air reeked of rust and something else, as though memory itself had begun to rot. The hangar was dark. She fumbled for the switch. Only part of the lights flickered on. The lamps crackled, as if resisting. On one wall, something new. This hadn't been there before. Vera stepped closer. A photograph. Her, but not recent. The old one, from the archive. The one she thought was Vera too. And beneath it, a handwritten note. "Now you are her." Her heart slammed. Who had left it? When? Why hadn't anyone noticed? She ran, only to find a figure already standing at the exit. "Too late," said a voice. Male. But distorted, like it spoke through someone else's skin. "You crossed the line. You've become a memory. You're no longer the bearer. You're what's being born." She stepped back. But he didn't approach. He just continued. "I preserve each of you. The best parts. I no longer destroy. I collect." Vera grabbed the fire alarm lever and yanked. Sirens screamed, lights flared. And then he vanished.